All right, today we're diving deep into Nigeria's huge bank recapitalization plan. But we're not just going to talk about the big headlines. We're going to uncover the critical risks that are hiding in plain sight.
So let's start with this number 500 billion naira. That's the new minimum capital a Nigerian bank needs if it wants to operate internationally. I mean, just look at it. It's a massive industry shaking figure.
So that's the real question, isn't it? Why this frantic race for so much cash? Is this just about stuffing more money into the vaults, or is there something bigger going on? Let's break down the official story first.
Okay, so the whole exercise is being built around this one really powerful idea: creating a banking system that's strong enough to power a $1 trillion economy.
According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, the goals are pretty straightforward. They want to build what you could call fortress banks, institutions so solid they can handle any economic storm, fund huge infrastructure projects, and basically signal to the world that Nigeria's financial system is rock solid.
And you can hear that thinking right here in this quote from the CBN governor himself. The official priority, number one, is stability. But, to really get what's happening today, you gotta look at the past.
This isn't the first time this has happened. Not at all. If you look back to 2004, a very similar move took the industry from 89 banks all the way down to just 25. So what we're seeing now with this 2026 deadline, it's basically the sequel, just on a much, much bigger scale. And this is where we need to pivot, because the official story of bigger, stronger banks sounds great, but it completely leaves out some really crucial and honestly pretty dangerous hidden risks. So what are they?
First up, let's talk about the people. Because while everyone's focused on the billions of naira being raised, there's a serious human capital problem that almost no one is talking about. And it starts with how the banks are staffed.
Just look at this breakdown. It's estimated that a staggering 60% of people working in Nigerian banks are contract or casual staff. Think about that. This creates an incredibly fragile workforce where most people have zero job security and are the first ones to go when banks need to cut costs. And we've seen this movie before. The 2004 consolidation led to huge layoffs. Now, as banks scramble to merge, they use words like synergy and optimization, but for thousands of employees, that's just corporate speak for job rationalization, which really means you're out of a job. This just guts the institutional memory and expertise you need to run these bigger, more complicated banks. So here's the bottom line on this point. Nigeria is on a path to create these massive financial giants that are, on the inside, running on an insecure and, frankly, hollowed-out workforce. And that directly undermines the expertise needed to manage all this new risk. Now for the second hidden risk. This one questions the money itself. Is 500 billion naira today really the massive leap forward that it sounds like? Or is it something of an illusion? Okay, let's look at the actual value in US dollars. Back in 2004, that 25 billion naira requirement was worth about $173 million. Today's 500 billion naira, well, it's worth around $318 million. Now, yeah, that's an increase, but it is nowhere near the 20 times jump the naira figure suggests. Why? Because massive currency devaluation has just eaten away at its real value.
So what that means is a huge chunk of this new capital isn't really for funding new businesses or growing the real economy. It's actually a defensive move. It's being used to insulate the banks from currency risk, basically plugging the giant hole that the naira's devaluation has already created on their balance sheets. And that brings us to our third and final silent killer. While all the traditional banks are looking inward, obsessed with this race for capital, they are completely missing the biggest threat of all: the fight for relevance. For the next 2 years, the big banks are going to be totally distracted. We're talking mergers, fundraising, boardroom politics, the whole thing. And in that time, nimble fintech players like OPay and MoneyPoint, who aren't weighed down by old systems, are just swooping in and capturing the everyday customers and small businesses that the big banks are ignoring.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. As this expert commentary points out, fintechs aren't just nibbling at the edges. They are aggressively reshaping the entire banking landscape. By the time the big banks finally sort themselves out in 2026, they might discover their customers have already left. So when you put it all together, the official grand ambition and these three silent risks, it really forces you to step back and ask a really basic question. what does it actually mean to be a strong bank in Nigeria today? The reality here is a major contradiction. You have this ambition to build bigger, more resilient banks, but these banks are being built on a foundation of a hollowed out workforce with capital that's mostly defensive, all while faster competitors are basically eating their lunch. And that really leaves us with this one final thought to chew on. This entire recapitalization plan is focused on the size of the vault, on building fatter balance sheets. But the real battle for the future of banking in Nigeria, well, that might be won by the speed of the app.